When we first visited the Mekong Delta, we had to wake before sunrise. And as we got closer to the floating market, the river started to come alive. There were boats selling fruit, boats cooking noodles, and even one that served coffee to passing tourists. At first it felt timeless, like seeing how generations have traded for centuries. And then we began to notice some of the boats were there to trade, and some of them were just there for the tourists. And that's when it started to hit me. The more people travel to see authentic culture, the more it changes. Hi, I'm Justine, the nerdy half. And if you're like me, you're starting to notice that things are changing in the tourism industry. Tourists are starting to demand something different. Authenticity. People don't want just landmarks or pretty spaces anymore. They want something real. They want to learn about the culture and experience it firsthand. They want to walk the streets that locals walk and taste the food that locals eat. Watch rituals passed down for generations. And social media has really amplified this. A single Instagram post can turn a quiet market into a global hotspot overnight. But once authenticity becomes popular and there's a price put on it, then cultures start to adapt and change. You've got performances nightly for visitors, restaurants are staged for photographs, and vendors tend to cater their experiences to what the tourist expects, not what actually is traditional. Authenticity is curated, and sometimes it's more about the spectacle than the tradition. Indonesia, and particularly Bali, is one place where tradition has been turned into performative art. Take, for example, the amazing dances that you'll see in just about every tourist arena. They really are beautiful to watch. But when you're performing this nightly for ticket prices, then something's going to change. The rituals become adapted to suit an audience. The songs that are sung are not necessarily what the people want to express. They're chosen more because of what the tourist expects to hear. Traditionally, they were hours long and involved spiritual ritual and were performed in sacred spaces. Now they're about 45 minutes long to fit the tourist attention span. To protect the core of their faith, the Balinese government actually ended up banning 127 sacred dances from tourist performance. And those beautiful rice paddies, they're slowly disappearing because farmers make more money by selling their land for cafes or tourist villas. Okay, helpful economically, short term, but it's kind of messing up the irrigation systems. And it's ending all those communal rituals that used to bring villages together. Many Indonesians are leaving their traditional jobs, are leaving their rural families to go to cities to work in tourism. Now that might be actually what they want to do. So I'm not trying to tell you this is a bad thing. All I'm saying is, let's make sure we think about it. The floating markets of the Mekong Delta are a perfect example. You can see it in the way that the people are interacting with each other. The rhythm changes when the cameras appear. Tourism does bring in money, and it is helping sustain the local community. And there's a flip side. For some of the younger generation, involving themselves in this lifestyle has now become more of an economic job prospect rather than something they're doing because that is the lifestyle they want to continue. For many of the younger generation, they'd actually happily go off to the big cities and the universities. But they're worth more economically if they stay here with their families on the boats. Our local guide helped us understand using tourism to boost the economy or even to try and revitalize culture is a double-edged sword. Tourism is becoming important for Kanto.
Yeah, really, really important. That's why, although the floating market is on the way to be smaller, but they try to keep that for the economy here.
It's hard to keep the market big forever. And now the children don't want to continue the life on the boats anymore. We always want to have the modern life. How can we force them to have difficult life? Yes. I mean, people at the floating market.
But at least the culture's not disappearing, right? It's just evolving. Culture has always changed. It doesn't stay frozen in time. But the biggest influences have normally been technology or colonisation. But now tourism is making an impact, and so as tourists, we need to make sure we are aware. Tourism can preserve and it can change culture simultaneously. The real question is, who is in control of that process? Rotorua in New Zealand offers a different perspective. Take a traditional Māori hangi, for example. When people talk about a traditional hangi, they're talking about a cooking method that's literally built into the land. Build a big fire and heat some stones, and you dig a pit. You put the stones, while they're glowing hot, into that pit, and then you put baskets of meat and vegetables, traditionally wrapped in leaves and herbs, put them on the rocks, cover them with wet sacks and soil, and then the heat and steam as a natural smoky flavoured slow cooker. It's so good that even Gordon Ramsay had to get in on the act when he was here. This is something that usually happens in a marae, guided by people with generations of expertise, all working together and then eating together. But the modern hangi is fast becoming popular too. These days you wrap it in tin foil, and if you're really in a hurry, you don't even need to dig your pit anymore. You can get yourself an automatic hangi cooker. You can even buy individual ones to have at home in your backyard. But you don't have to go to the extent of getting everyone together just to organise a meal. But that's what you've lost. Running an appliance isn't the same as working together around an earth oven. But tourists have a schedule they have to fit to. Everything is tailored to fit the 45-minute time slot or the rolling of the buses in and out. So some part of tradition has to give way. Now, of course, the cooking method is going to change. Everything develops and everything grows, and technology will change things. I'm not saying change is bad. I'm just saying we do need to think about the impact of those changes in the long term. And in some cases, that long term is actually really beneficial. Preservation and transformation can coexist if we do it right. Māori have been successful in playing a kind of Uno reverse card. They are using the tourism industry to reclaim what was Disneyified or diluted or plasticized. The idea that Māori were a 19th century warrior culture, that kind of stuck and hung around for quite a while. So some tourism operators deliberately moved away from that. They focused on how Māori have contributed as scientists, all the knowledge that Māori can contribute to the climate change concerns, and how modern Māori culture is leading in the business world. There was even a time where Māori were told not to use their language so much, just keep it simple for the tourists. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know how I feel about that monolingual perspective of the world. Luckily for Aotearoa New Zealand and all our visitors, Māori just didn't take that advice. Some operators even reversed it totally and deliberately started using more te reo Māori, especially in their greetings. And what do you know? It turns out tourists actually do appreciate authenticity and really enjoy learning some of those new words because it digs deeper into the culture. So this made tourism a safe space for Māori, and it's helped push that revitalisation of te reo Māori and Māori tikanga across Aotearoa New Zealand. Thank you, tourists. Māori involvement in tourism has meant they are now not just the guides. They own these tourism experiences. They get to decide what they share and what they keep. In 2002, iwi took action and they decided to trademark their traditional designs. Now the Toi Iho registered trademark is a seal of authenticity that only Māori artists can use in their work. It made the tourism industry focus on high quality Māori art. And so it shifted the power back to the creators who were able to set the value for their creations. Māori-led tourism has not just helped Māori shape its own identity internationally, it's helped us as New Zealanders understand ourselves better too. So far from the plastic tiki keyrings of my childhood, today Māori tourism is helping shift our entire country into a more positive place. It's changed the narrative from look at these people from the past to Let's engage with these people who are driving us into the future. Community-led tourism will lead the way, especially when we as tourists make sure that we focus in on that. If this has given you a new perspective on travel, I'd love to hear it. I don't know where we'll be next week. Wherever we are, I hope you'll join me there. Until then, happy travels everyone.